Okay, here we go. Sorry, I was on speaker view. Welcome to our first CAC Together Apart at Home virtual Zoom meeting. And I think we're letting people in, so this will just be talking about some nonsense. Please, everybody. Oh, first, I would really like to thank our media services team. And I want to give a shout out to our translators. We have Mr. Austin Nev, Lena Serrano, Julie Morse, Barbara Palafox, and Claudia Flores. Is that our Claudia? That's our Claudia.
That's ours.
That's ours. Okay. And so this is, strange new times. We're trying something new, and we'll want to hear everybody's feedback after we're done. I would like to, I forgot again to introduce myself. My name is Robin Weckerly, and I am the chair of the CAC. And I would like to introduce our CAC board. I'll start with Courtney. Unmute yourself. Introduce.
Hello.
And Samantha.
Hello.
And Jennifer. I lost her. Jennifer Yates. Okay. That's our CAC board, and then I'm going to give it to Dr. There's Jennifer over there. Okay, great. And Dr. Simon, you can introduce the district staff.
All right, so first, let me begin based on who I see. Board Member Kerr, Megan Kerr, thank you so much for being here and lending your time. We know that Board Member Kerr is a staunch special education advocate, so we thank her for all that she has done and will continue to do. I also want to thank our wonderful superintendent, Dr. Jill Baker, for lending her time today. I know that she's a very busy lady. I know that she has another meeting to attend, but she wanted to be a part of this meeting. So we appreciate her presence too. And then someone that you know, and I'm gonna let her take it away, Robin, or it'll go back to you, but Dr. Tiffany Brown, who has been a part of this work and this endeavor for many years. Someone who I appreciate, someone who I've learned just a lot from, and we also thank her for being a part of this meeting as well. And then as far as our district team, do you want them to introduce themselves as well, Robin?
I don't know what would be easier. A lot of them are on mute. Do you want to just give some highlights?
So let me just have this. Let me first introduce Dr. Rachel Heenan, who is Director of Special Education. Diana Craighead, Board President, who just sent me a text saying that she's watching via YouTube. So I want to give her a shout out as well. But Dr. Rachel Heenan, Director of Special Ed, I know who you guys know too, who has worked very fiercely around this work, who's a staunch advocate, an expert in this field. Of course, appreciate her being here. I'm just going to ask our team members, because I cannot see you all, if you could just unmute just very quickly and just say your name, say your position, and then we'll move quick.
Just wanted to say hi, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening. Thanks so much for everybody for being here. I'm super excited about the increased community involvement we have starting this summer, really. So look forward to this meeting and many more.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Seema Paul. I am Program Administrator for the secondary programs, overseeing some of the high schools, middle schools, along with my two counterparts, Susie Caskey, and then Wendy Rosenquist.
Good evening. I am Luana Wesley. I am the Program Administrator for elementary schools. And I am here with Dr. Mary Beth Murray, Dr. Ken Owens, and Erica Sarabia as the elementary team.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lucy Carbajal. I'm the Program Specialist for Student Health Services. Pleasure to be back.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Miriam Garcia, and I am Program Administrator for Early Start, Pre-K CCT, and Buffum TLC.
Good evening, everybody. Dennis Swenningson. I'm the Behavior Intervention Manager for the district, as well as the Preschool Assessment Coordinator, and I am the Special Ed Administrator for our elementary success sites.
I can go ahead and hop in. My name is Rochelle Martin, and I'm very bad at jumping in on Zoom. I always feel like I'm going to interrupt someone. So, but I am the Special Education Curriculum Leader and Collaborative Co-Teaching Coordinator, and just very happy to be here and be with you. You guys and your kids are my why, so it always is a comforting place to be, and I hope that tonight is helpful to you and get your question answered. I'm also joined by Ashley Rhodes, my colleague, so I'm going to ask her to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley Rhodes, and like Rochelle said, I work to support her in the Special Education Curriculum Office, and I'm happy to be here with you all tonight as well. Thanks for having us.
I'll go next. I'm Patty O'Connell. I'm the NPS Special Ed Administrator.
Good evening, everyone. I'm LaShondra Prelo, and I'm the administrator for the Adult Community Transition Program, so the ACT program with Long Beach Unified School District. It's great to see everyone.
And I think that's it. Is that everybody?
Awesome.
All right, Robin.
All right, so it is my pleasure so we got some pretty bad news a couple months ago, I guess early in the break in the closure, and that was that Dr. Brown got promoted. And so I know that you know, for me personally, you have helped me grow as a leader, and I try and copy your sort of Clint Eastwood style of public speaking and being calm and not letting anything bother it, but I'm not very good at it, but I'm still trying. And so anyway, so I'm just kidding, of course. We are so excited for you and your new position, and we are also super excited about Dr. Simon, but we thought you had to come and, you know, sort of give us your farewell speech, if you may. So Dr. Brown.
Thanks, Robin. I've been patterning myself after you, actually. So good evening to everyone. And it's actually not bad news at all, because you and our whole community are in such wonderful hands with the team that is with you. And no farewell speeches, because I'll continue to really actively be a part of the work that's happening both through CAC and for our students with special needs throughout the district and throughout our cities. So I just really wanted to say hello and acknowledge the fact that it's been a really challenging stretch, and I see you. To all of our parents who are doing all kinds of extra things that you never thought you might do, I feel super both respectful, honoring, and just know how courageous you are in the parenting of your children, which for those of us who have had the good fortune to love someone with special needs knows that there's just an added layer of everything: thinking, planning, caring, guiding, that for some grows into a lot of independence, and for others looks like a continued level of lifelong care. So I hold a really special place both for the work that you do as parents and the way that you advocate for and care for your children, and then for your children. So with that, I want to really acknowledge that our new superintendent, Dr. Jill Baker, is with us this evening. And Dr. Baker has been a longtime supporter of all children, and specifically children with special needs. She multiple times in the last several years has attended CAC. And so I just wanted to give her opportunity to say hello to the group, and then we're going to pass it back to you, Robin, for your leadership of the meeting. Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Hi, everyone, and good evening. It is great to be back with you this evening and to see you grow into a new way of being in this virtual environment, which all of us are adjusting to. And I'm glad you acknowledged Dr. Brown for the legacy that she leaves with you. She also leaves you in good hands, as you have said, and will be close by, lifting up much of the work that you have done into other district strategies that we'll use based on her work with CAC. So she's not going far, and either am I. So we're really glad to see all of you and just adjusting to this new environment. Thank you for your patience with us as we make many transitions, and thank you for the voice that you bring to your students' education. We're listening well and listening hard, so thank you. I'll be with you for a while. I have one more meeting to go to tonight, but I'm going to be here for about half an hour, so thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to give Dr. Simon just a few minutes to introduce herself to our families. We've already had 50 emails between the two of us, and she is wonderful. So if you want to take a few minutes, Dr. Simon, to just sort of introduce yourself to some of the families that maybe don't know you yet.
Well, thank you, Robin. I see many faces that I know, that I've met, I've had much contact and communication with, so it's nice to see your faces once again, and to all the families who I've not yet met. I look forward to meeting and conversing with you, hopefully not so much for challenging issues, but more so for proactive and good issues, are good things that we can talk about and move forward with. I'm excited to be in this position. I know that I do have big shoes to fill, and I don't even know if I need to say to fill. I mean, Dr. Brown has left a great legacy, and now it's time for the team and I to just continue with many things that Dr. Brown has already laid the foundation for. So with that being said, I'm not going to take too much time. I know that we have a pretty hearty agenda tonight, but you see the team who is here and ready to serve our students, and ready to work in partnership, ready to work alongside our parents to work through some of these challenging issues. As Dr. Baker has alluded to, I mean, distance learning we know has been difficult for parents. I'm a parent as well, and there are many days that I want to scream because I know that my kids are having somewhat difficulties, right, with their learning virtually. But, we're learning together, and also up in the ante, just for many things that we are still very challenged with understanding based on guidance or no guidance that we have received. So I thank you all for being here, and now I'll leave you back into the hands of Robin.
Okay, so we know that our meetings often, lots of people come in a little late. So what we want to do is just take a few minutes to do a little icebreaker, and I'm going to hand that over to Jen. Everybody loves the icebreaker, the Zoom icebreaker. So Jen Yates.
So since there's so many of us, we're kind of limited in what we're going to do. I just wanted to take a minute to also say hello to everybody. I know it's an interesting year for sure. So please know that we're all in this together. If anybody wants to stand up and stretch, or just sit in your chair and just do a little stretchy stretch, get it out, get some of the kinks out, get your neck rolling, whatever feels good, do a dance. If you're called to, turn off your video for a second and shake it out, whatever you want to do. Feels good to stretch. Okay, so the icebreaker is related to purchases on Amazon. What is the strangest or most interesting or thing that you did not think that you would ever buy? It doesn't have to be on Amazon really, but it can, so any online purchase that you've made since this has all started in March. I'm going to give you just a couple of examples. The toilet paper is the obvious, so don't use that one, but that's something that maybe you didn't really, maybe you used to just go to Costco and get, but then you couldn't. Another one could be something like, well, this is something I purchased myself because I thought I don't have to be in the office as much as I used to, really, not at all. So I bought some purple hair dye because I thought that would be fun. However, when you mix purple with grassy highlights, it turns green. So that was a disaster, but that's okay. So in the chat box, if you want to just share, we're not going to go around or anything like that. Share one of your most interesting purchases or strangest. And I'll read them as they come. If they come. Ooh, saltwater taffy. 50-pound bag of pinto beans, yes. Gluten-free mustard pretzels, that sounds good. A lot of elderberry, yes, very important and smart. We have elderberry gummies rocking over here. Hair color, your wisdom was showing, that's awesome. Yeah, my wisdom shows every 3 weeks. Tomato cages. What else? A skateboard, right on. .3D printed cake topper for my logo obsessed ASC kid. Ah, I get it. From all the way from Greece. That's awesome. Oh, Katniss costume for your daughter. I love that. Treadmill in hopes that you use it. That's awesome too. Play-Doh, not enough for school. Yes, we can always use more Play-Doh. I bought 7 pairs of scissors too, because they keep getting lost. A dog toothbrush. Give it another minute here. Felt circles for my car essential oil diffuser. Ooh. At-home facial waxing kit. Yep, you got to do it. I bought a manicure set too, because, you know, the salons were closed for a long time. It's not as easy as it looks. Anybody else? Come on, there's got to be something strange. Something you normally wouldn't buy online. Typewriter ribbon for an old school word processor that your kid got for free. How awesome is that? 2019-20 planner that ended in June 2020. Oops. Nail polish stickers, yes. Everything Peppa Pig that Amazon sells. We're back on a Peppa Pig phase, by the way. Anybody else? Dog treats for new puppy, yes. Okay, I know you didn't. I know that a lot of people bought new pets, not online, of course, but we just also bought a cat ourselves. Hair clippers. We're more to handle technology, yeah. All right, well, we'll wrap this up. Thank you guys for sharing. That was funny, right? I think that my list goes on, but I won't bore you. So thank you guys. We look forward to an awesome year.
Thank you, Jen. You're the best. Okay, so I wanted to, Nubia, I'm sorry, I'm not listening. There is an agenda for tonight, and I'm not great in technology right now, so I'm going to ask for a little bit of grace and forgiveness here. I should have posted this or emailed the agenda to you all, and I didn't, and I was trying to put it in the chat, and I don't know how. So I can just read it to you. It's really simple. It's just going to be our distance learning panel, our Q&A panel, and then have some announcements and then public comment. So all we're really doing today is the panel. So again, I apologize. I can send it to you guys after, but that's a note that I will take, and next time I will make sure that I send it out. So I just want to briefly go over the rules of or what we're doing for our distance. I'm calling it a distance learning panel, but really what I want is just people to ask their questions to the district staff who have the answers. And I just want to go over a couple norms and guidelines. Number one, I want, of course, everyone to be respectful of everybody on the panel, but also respectful of just like people's time. It's the end of a very long day for a lot of people. So just keep that in mind. Also, this meeting is not private. It is being streamed on YouTube. And so I want to be very clear that please don't like mention your kid in specifically. Maybe even try not to mention the school, like, you know, just talk in sort of a general way and ask your question in that way, just for privacy reasons. Nobody's going to answer a student specific question. If you have a student specific question, you should definitely email your special ed administrator directly and talk about it, because this is not the place for that. So this is a place to ask questions, but we are also first and foremost a support group. So if you just want to say a few words about how you're feeling or what the last week has been like for you, please do that. I encourage you to do that. And if you have found any hacks or tricks to make it easier, please share them. We are our best resources. The reason that we're doing it on YouTube and on Zoom, and the reason I invited everybody to, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat. There is interpretation in Spanish for the meeting. There's let me see. The interpretation is being provided right now. What? Maybe Mr. Itzon can hop on and answer this question here. I don't know if somebody's.
Hi, everyone. Yes, the Spanish and Khmer are on the YouTube channels as well. It's 3 separate simulcasts. If you go to lbschools.net/YouTube, you can access any of them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much. Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. We're going to take 3 people on the Zoom call. So if you want to ask a question or make a comment, go down to the participants, click on it, and you're going to raise your hand. And I'm going to pick the first 3 people who do that. And then we're going to go to 3 questions that are tapped in the Zoom chat. So great, I already see a question has popped up. And then after that, we're going to go to 3 questions for people who have emailed their question beforehand to our CAC email address. And then we're just going to keep going until we run out of time. We have about an hour and 5 minutes, a little over an hour to do this. So if anybody has a question right now on the Zoom call, you can raise your hand and I will be able to see if anybody raises their hand. As we're waiting for people to raise their hand, I will ask, great, I've got 1 person, but let me just ask a start out question. And I guess this would go to Dr. Simon. I guess the number 1 question on everybody's mind is, when do we get to go back to school, to in-person learning? And I know that right now we're waiting until LA County is off the monitoring list. When we are off the monitoring list for 14 days, does that mean we go back immediately? So does that mean we're only going to have, like, what is the process? Just, you can answer that for me.
And I'll have our wonderful Dr. Brown, who is our COVID-19 health office conversationalist. I know she has continued meetings with Dr. Anissa Davis just to ensure I'm answering correctly. So for LA County, we have to be off the watch list, you know, for 14 days. And I know there's been conversations even around the governor's new orders that we can get into a little bit later on as well. But still, even with us being off that watch list, it may still mean being in a very socially distanced way until where we only have either small groups of students. It could be hybrid. It still could be completely online and how we do that. So it still may not be as we were before March 16th or March 13th, to where there were 30 kids to a classroom. That will still be much smaller in size, right, due to social distancing. And I'll have Dr. Brown, if I missed anything you want to add to that, ma'am, please feel free to do so.
Sure, and I appreciate the question, because I know it's the $1 million question. And I'll just say that as much as you want to come back to school, we want you to come back, your children to come back to school, and to resume some version of what we've known before. We're being very careful and using all of the guidance that is available to us. We've had the good fortune of being in great conversation with our health department. And so I wish I could predict the future. I've been trying to, but I haven't been able to yet. I will just say that as soon as we're able to come back to school, we will. I want to be, like always, just very transparent with you and say, when we return to school, it will not just be open the doors and have everyone come in. There will be a phasing in process that will allow us to keep everybody in a very safe situation. And one of the big factors that we are looking at in terms of deciding on when we might be able to return, other than the very obvious health guidance that we have, is that we want to try as much as we can to avoid a situation where we would open and then have to close. And so as we navigate what's ahead, and again, in full transparency, just navigate cold and flu season, and the fact that many of the symptoms related to cold and flu are the symptoms of COVID-19. We're using all of that information to try to make a really good decision about what's next. So you'll have more information coming soon, but I'm just trying to be as open as I can with you about the things, the information that we're using to plan.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I always want the late breaking news. That's good. Thank
Robin,
you.
It's good to add, Robin, that with guidance, things change rapidly.
They do.
Even based on the guidance we received from the governor's office or the public health department, it appears that it's changing very rapidly. And so even for us to stay on top of that and have conversations with our local public health officials, it's key, and we really rely on their guidance to help us move forward. So I want everyone to know that as well. It is changing rapidly, as I'm pretty sure that you all have witnessed and seen.
What Dr. Simon just said is really, really important, because some of the things that we have been working through is that some of the information feels confusing. We're starting to see things open back up. Hair salons are open. Why can't we open school? We see some youth sports practicing. Why can't we do extracurricular activities? So I know that all of those things combined are really confusing, but I'll tell you one piece of information we've used. One of the things that we would use in terms of monitoring health is if we were to reopen, and if we were to have one positive exposure in any one classroom, we would have to quarantine that classroom for 14 days. So translate that to a secondary school setting where students go to multiple classes, and you can see what we would be planning, I'm going to say, against. And so I share that just one example so that you have some information about the things that we're using to determine when is the right time, given all of those factors. Because when we choose that students are coming back in person and we phase that process in, we want to be able to do it and go forward. And we need to be at a safe enough point to be able to do that.
That makes sense. And so October 5th is probably a pipe dream at this point.
I think you'll be hearing some more information about that shortly.
Okay. I'm going to trip you up. I'm going to get you this.
It's not going to happen, Robin.
I know. Okay. I would like to invite Magda Armistead to unmute and ask her question.
Yes, my question is related to screen time. Thank you for your time. When I first saw the different options for the hybrid model, the 100% online, the screen time even was half of the day. But now that we are actually on, everybody's 100% online, the screen time for my kid, who is just 6 years old, first grader, is 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. in front of a computer, 2 sessions of Zoom, and in the middle, just at lunchtime. How is he expected to be on Zoom for such a long day when a lot of the activities can be monitored on the screen, like the Core 5, the math, Lexia, and even Epic, all those things that can be done online, and even on our book, where we can just take pictures and submit our work, could be done on an independent time. The poor guy by the 3rd hour is exhausted and just collapsing on the ground because I can't keep him seated. And he is ASD level 2, but I am assuming it will be a similar issue for even typical kids, not just mine. So the screen time of this part of e-learning is throwing me off.
Yeah, amen. Dr. Simon, who will get that answer to answer that question or respond?
And you said Miss, is it Armstead?
Armistead, yes. Mm-hmm.
Armistead, my apologies. And you said your child is 6 years old or a 6th grader?
He just turned 6 years old the day before
so
class.
First grader.
So he's a first grader, but he's ASD. He used to be on a mild moderate setting. He's now on co-teaching. But I mean, it doesn't really will make any difference. The thing is still, it's a very long day on the front of the screen.
Okay. And I guess more so of your question is, why is the day so long, or do you want even more information around just the instructional model?
One is why, because that's not how it was posted on the plans for the district, even for the 100% online. And second, is it set, or can we advocate to have it the second part of the day as independent work, so we can work on a one-on-one with our kids and submit the work?
Well, I know for our first graders, and I think Ms. LaWanna Wesley is on the line, as well as our elementary SEA, and Dr. Ken Owens is here as well. 6 hours, you say from 8 to 2. Can someone help with that? I thought that was just 3 hours, 180 minutes, but maybe one of you guys can speak to the instructional
Yes,
day.
Dr. Simon.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Dr. Simon. That time can be a mixture of what we call synchronous and asynchronous time. So during that synchronous time where they are on screen with the teacher, it may not be a time where they're directly staring at the screen. The teacher will probably build in some activities where, while the screen may be on, the students may be doing some independent reading away from the screen. There's also time built in as asynchronous time, which would be like a print materials where they can work independently. My suggestion would be if your child is currently doing 6 hours, where you visually see them at the screen, reach out to the school's counselor and or principal, and maybe have them help you with adjusting the time for your student. But there are times where they can be on the screen, but not necessarily looking directly at the screen for screen time. Maybe just doing a reading activity or print materials.
Mrs. Wesley, let me just piggyback on that. Also, Robin and I were talking earlier, and just if you were at or able to attend some of the meetings parent meetings we had, we talked a little bit about the distance learning plan that is now required for your child. And what that distance learning plan does is it gives the teacher and you and the team the ability to look at what needs your child has during distance learning And for example, if the time's too long, then you sit down with the teacher and you write during, the plan on what you think would work best for them. Maybe they have frequent breaks, maybe they, take an hour off. So that distance learning plan is something that's going to be critical during this time so that it can truly meet the needs of your child and not overwhelm them if it's too much time. But again, definitely reach out to your teacher.
And he just said the district requires them back on Zoom after lunch as well as the first hour.
Okay.
They do have breakaway rooms, but it's still, we have to be in front of the computer.
Okay, so that's definitely something the case manager, we can definitely assist as well to make sure that the distance learning plan does get implemented.
Yes, there was a lot of training that took place with our teachers the week before the students came back. And we went over lesson plans with the teachers. We talked about social emotional learning a lot during that week. We talked about the importance of building in breaks during the day, get up and move type things for the students. And of course, every teacher comes with their own enthusiasm for their subjects and things. And I know that they all want to get as much information in and as much support for the students. But it's absolutely something that we as administrators can speak to the principals at the school sites, the teachers, and help support your children. So always know that you can reach out to us. We're happy to support. But a lot of front loading and training took place with the teachers that whole week before the students came back to talk about what this was going to look like and the importance of addressing those social emotional needs of the children and helping them come back to this environment that's new to everybody. But thank you so much for bringing that to our attention and for allowing us to support you in this way. Thank you, Magda.
Thank you, Magda. I want to just say that let's not forget the I in IEP, and whatever works for your kid or is not working for your kid, that's the conversation you should be having with your team. And I know personally, because my kid is dying on Zoom, he would not make this meeting. It's too long for him. So I'm having conversations with his team, and it is helpful. So thank you, Magda. Let's go to Paula Martinez. Please unmute yourself, Paula.
Sí, buenas tardes, ¿me escuchan?
Hold on one second. I just want to make sure that we can have translation on the Zoom as well. Is that, I'm sorry.
Hold on one second.
Again, I should have practiced this beforehand. I'm so sorry.
Good job. Awesome.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
¿Sí? Okay. Yo tengo una pregunta. No solo es mi caso, pero muchos de los papás que hablamos español, nuestros estudiantes muchos de los estudiantes que tienen uno a uno en la escuela, como sabemos, no están proviendo en casa. Entonces nosotros los padres somos los que estamos siendo el uno a uno del estudiante, pero esto es muy difícil porque clases, terapias, todas son impartidas en español. Entonces el padre tiene que estar haciendo el esfuerzo de entender lo que la maestra o la terapista está tratando de decir. Muchas de las veces lo que hacemos es confundir más al estudiante porque quizás no estamos entendiendo bien lo que la maestra está diciendo o la terapista. Entonces eso es muy frustrante para el estudiante, que causa que los comportamientos incrementen aún más de lo que ya están. Y quiero saber si el distrito puede apoyar en algo a nosotros los padres que no hay nadie que hable inglés en la casa. Entonces somos los que estamos ahí sentados todo el rato con los estudiantes que están en clases de educación especial. Gracias.
So her question, I try to pause her so I could catch everything, but in short, she's asking about the students that have the one-on-one. So basically the parent is being the one-on-one, and so they don't speak English, and a lot of times they're trying to help the student, but instead of helping the student, they're confusing the student more because the parents don't understand what is really being taught. And so she's asking for some support, what can be done to help the parents obtain this support while the students are being at home.
Thank you. Thank you for that translation. Thank you, Paula. Go
Can
ahead,
I just add a
Steph.
clarifying question? I couldn't hear the last part. I apologize. Claudia Flores, you said something about support for parents. Can you read that one more time or say that one more time for me, please?
Yes, so she was saying that if there's any support that can be provided to the parents as they're the ones being the one-on-one or acting as the one-on-one when the student is at home. The instruction is being...
May I chime in? I think the point was more in regards to Spanish-speaking parents who now have to try to understand the class and try to relay it to the kid as they feel like they are the one-on-one. And there's just a complete disconnect between the class being taught in English, the parent maybe not understanding, and the kid getting even more frustrated between the two about not understanding or maybe having a mistranslation and different direction from the parent, and the parent adding to the frustration with the kid.
Thank you.
Somewhere so, gotcha. Somewhere so, mom is asking for if there could be support for her in the home as a Spanish speaker to help her understand the instruction. Is that correct?
El apoyo que yo solicito no es para mí, es para el estudiante, porque debido a que él es el que tiene que aprender y yo estoy siendo su uno a uno, entonces cómo el distrito puede ayudar a los estudiantes para que ellos puedan tener acceso a su educación como los demás estudiantes. Siento que ellos necesitan ayuda y no tienen esta ayuda en casa.
The support she's requesting is for the student. She feels that the students are not getting that support. Señora Paula, si me escuchas, cuando haga su pregunta, si por favor puede pausar para poder interpretar todo correctamente.
Está bien, nada más si quiere que lo repita, lo vuelvo a repetir.
Si gusta repetirlo.
Ok, muchos de los estudiantes, unos tienen un uno a uno en las clases, en la escuela, pero en este tiempo el distrito no está proviendo el uno a uno en casa. Entonces los papás estamos siendo su uno a uno y estamos al lado de los estudiantes.
Ok, déjeme dejarles saber esto, ok? So mom is saying that some of the students, I'm going to repeat the question because I did ask her if she could go slowly so that I can make sure to translate what she's asking and saying. So the students that have one-on-one, the parents are being the one-on-one. So in her second question, she said, the students are the ones that need the support. Ok, señora, so usted dice que usted está pidiendo el apoyo para los estudiantes.
Sí, cómo el distrito nos puede apoyar a los estudiantes en este sentido para que ellos puedan tener acceso, porque ahorita está el padre ayudando, pero el padre está tratando de entender lo que está diciendo la maestra, pero como no.
Permítame. So she's asking for the support. How can the district provide support to the student? Because as of right now, the parent is the one that's providing the support, and the parent is trying to understand what the teacher is saying. Okay?
Pues los padres están tratando de entender lo que dice la maestra, las terapistas. Entonces, esto es lo que es frustrante, porque debido a que el padre quizás no está dando el mensaje que está diciendo la maestra, y esto está causando un incremento en los comportamientos del estudiante aún más.
Okay. So she's saying because the parents are not understanding, it increases the behaviors of the student. because the student is working with the teacher or the therapist, but the parent is not understanding the teacher or the therapist.
Okay, so the student has a one-to-one aide, is that correct?
Su estudiante tiene un ayudante de uno a uno. ¿Es esto correcto?
Correcto.
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct, Dr. Simon.
And the one-to-one aide is not present in the classroom with a computer?
¿Y el ayudante de uno a uno no está presente en la clase con la computadora?
El ayudante está presente, pero la que está al lado del estudiante es la madre. Entonces la madre es la que está tratando de entender para volver a repetir, porque muchos de los estudiantes necesitan repetición, necesitan que les vuelvan a preguntar, a dar la misma dirección. El asistente está en la misma línea y no puede estar interrumpiendo la clase que está dando la maestra.
So the one-on-one is present via Zoom, but the teacher is the one that's giving the class, and the aide cannot speak over. So the one that's next to the student is the parent, and the student needs repetition. So the parent is the one that needs to repeat what is being said so the student can understand.
Y aún para estudiantes que no tienen uno a uno, pero como por todos estos cambios, sus hijos son los niños, lo único que tienen son sus padres quien les ayude a entender lo que está tratando de decir la maestra también.
And even for the students that don't have a one-on-one, the parents are the ones that are helping the students understand what the teacher is trying to say to them.
Gotcha. And so that's something, I mean, I don't have an answer, just to be very clear to that right now. I know that with distance learning, there are many challenges, right, with students learning and also with parents assisting. I think it causes for a bigger conversation, right, with maybe delivery, how we're instructing. It's just something that I don't know how to answer at this time. All I can say is I hear moms' challenges. I've written those challenges down. And it's something for me to pursue and also to research, and also for mom and maybe one of the principals or special education administrators to speak about offline. First thing tomorrow morning, I know they'll be happy to connect with you. Even more so to hear about your challenges that you're facing with your student during distance learning. And I'm seeing just based on the chat, there may be several other parents as well, but it is something for us to research and look into. And I apologize, I don't have the answer for you at this time, but it is something for us to definitely look into. I do hear you.
Hi, Dr.
I want to recognize that.
Hi, Dr. Simon. This is Dr. Owens. I know that I had addressed this concern with another parent. And one of the things that the team and I had talked about was that our teachers, our RSP teachers, our SDC teachers have office hours. And what we had suggested with a couple of other parents that we talked to was that they utilize that office hour time to get clarification, you know, in this interim period where we're doing so much online. We recognize that there is a concern. And I'm not saying that that's, you know, a perfect end-all answer. It's certainly something that we as the team, you know, need to troubleshoot some more. But I think it is something, if a number of parents are having this sort of issue, they should be aware that our special ed teachers, our service providers have office hours. And you can use those office hours to reach out to maybe get some clarification about a lesson that you had heard, about how you can help support your child. Know that those office hours are there. So that's just my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Magda. We're going to go to the Zoom chat questions, and Samantha, you are going to read 3. Samantha can unmute herself.
Okay.
Samantha Holdren.
I think you already had Magda read hers. Just going back up. Can you hear me, Robin?
I can.
Okay. There's a lot of chat here. I had a question from Amy, which I believe was just answered by Dr. Heenan.
Yeah, definitely. So the question about distance learning plans and kind of getting a copy to see what that looks like. And I can definitely send a blank one over to Robin so she can get it out. And they're very throughout the state. The format is a little bit different, but the requirements of a distance learning plan is similar throughout the state as it's a requirement. So we'll definitely get that out to you, Robin, and then you can get it out to everybody.
Okay. What else you got? There's a lot of questions.
I had a question from Syra, but I'm just trying to find it.
Don't say the names.
I'm so sorry. I had a question from another member. Okay. Is it possible to schedule support services outside class hours, for example, speech, so not to interrupt learning time?
Well, I will say our thinking and our recommendation is always around those services being provided outside of the instructional time. So if that's not happening, please let us know and please contact us. Dr. Heenan, do you have anything to add to that?
Schedule definitely so that services can be outside the synchronous time, and all therapists and providers know that they're to coordinate with the teacher to make sure, and the parent, to make sure they're not being pulled during critical academic time. But that is something that, again, I would recommend the distance learning plan. If there's a time that you feel might be a good time for a break, or a good time that they receive speech, that's something that you can talk to with your IEP case carrier. But again, we can't provide services outside of the duty day because the teachers are in a contract to work within those hours. So they're being very flexible and trying to work with the teachers to take students out during the most optimal time. So that's another thing I definitely would work with your teacher to ask about, maybe a best time to pull the student, if there is a best time, and then what time that would be.
Great. Samantha.
Okay, that was the only other question that was there. We have some people.
No, I see a question in Spanish. Jen Yates, you were supposed to read our Spanish question.
The one that's further up on the scroll?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
30 p.m.
Thank you. And then we're going to need Miss Claudia to translate.
The question about the tries, because that was, I think Amy posted that a while back.
No.
In there as well. So whenever you're ready.
Okay, do you want me to read the Spanish one first?
Yes, please.
Okay. ¿Cuál es la expectativa de la enseñanza o el aprendizaje de los currículum académico para este año? ¿Qué apoyos tendrás los estudiantes para prepararlos en los exámenes? ¿Tendrán apoyo de tutoría?
Can you read the question? Can we break it into two? I know they're asking what is expected academically, and then what is the testing, and if they will be receiving tutoring support. So can we start with the first part?
Yeah. You want to read that again, Jen? You're on mute.
Gotta scroll back up. Hold on. ¿Cuál es la expectativa de la enseñanza o el aprendizaje de los currículum académico para este año? ¿Qué apoyos tendrás los...
Wait. The first. She's stopping after the first question.
Got it.
So what is expected for the teaching for this year? Okay, go ahead.
I can't hear her.
Go ahead again.
Okay. ¿Qué apoyos tendrás los estudiantes para prepararlos en los exámenes?
What support will the students have during the testing?
And the last part is tendrán apoyo de tutoría.
And will they have tutoring support?
Okay. Dr. Heenan, you want to throw that to somebody?
Sure. Let's go with someone we haven't heard from. Is Dr. Rosenquist in here? And just so you all know, Dr. Rosenquist is now a recent doctor, as she got her EDD this past spring. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
West.
Thank you. I've missed the CAC meetings because I've had class, but I'm glad to be back. So to answer it, I know it was a couple part question. So Claudia, I may ask you to refresh, but I think the first part of that question was, what is the expectation of academics and of teaching? And really the bottom line, the first answer is the expectation is the same expectation as that we have for general ed teachers and for general ed students. We want to make sure that the rigor is there and the content is there and the standards and everything is in place. However, what we then provide as special ed support is accommodations and distance learning plans and support to help students access those. And I hear that a lot of parent concern on screen time and being able to understand the curriculum. And I really want to encourage parents to reach out to your case managers. And you know, the IEP team and the IEP meeting is a great place to talk about your individual student, to talk about screen time, to talk about my student can't be on the screen for 6 hours. You know, the content is, you know, too much, too long. And so the expectation is the same. However, the expectation for the special ed teachers is also to modify the curriculum to be able to provide what is needed for that class, depending on which type of class it is and what type of students are in the class. We don't always just teach to one type of student. We make sure that we look at every student. But the IEP is what really is the roadmap for those teachers to be able to provide what that student needs overall. And Claudia, could you repeat the second part of that question? And I think there was a third as well.
The second was testing. What are we doing to prepare them for testing? And the third one was tutoring. Is there any tutoring support that will be provided?
Okay, let me go to the tutoring one first, and then I'll come back to the testing. So I know that at your school site, the school sites have interventions and strategies and things available that's not during the synchronous time to help support all students, whether it be in English language arts or in mathematics or in social emotional learning. So I encourage parents to go back to the school site as well, whether it be to your teacher, to your counselor, to your principal, to ask, what does the school site have available for you as far as academic interventions? Because I know that's a big push for all of us. At this time, there's no specific tutoring or special ed students in particular. However, if there's a concern that your student has fallen behind or is not progressing on their goals, again, the IEP team is a great avenue and a great place to talk about that, to see what is needed. Do we need to have extra support or extra services or extra anything in order to make up for this pandemic that we've been in? And as far as testing, I believe if you're talking about the state testing, I know that right now we are on pause with state testing. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but we are on pause. And so the testing that we're really looking at is regular, classroom testing, district testing, and it's not our priority. Our priority is the day-to-day instruction and kind of getting distance learning, getting a handle on distance learning so that everybody learns Canvas and knows the expectations, and that we figure out the screen time so that we can actually have students learn and progress. So that's a great question about testing, but right now we are on pause with the state testing. So
yeah, Dr. Rosenquist, can I add on?
Absolutely, thank you.
So one of the things that this question was making me think about is as far as assessment for our students right now, our primary goal for starting the school year is making sure that our students are coming back to us and are well, right? That we are checking in with them, that we are helping them with self-awareness, that building that community in their classroom, right? Not only between the teacher, but also between the students in the classroom, but really just establishing what that is going to be now that we're at a place where we might not be continuing with the same students. We might have a whole new group of students, right? So that felt like the most important thing as we were starting this school year. So when we think about assessments, and knowing about the screen time and how challenging this is for all of us, really anything beyond formative assessment is going to make this an even more challenging experience for students. So starting back, we're really looking at that assessment during learning. So having teachers formatively assess during instruction for the purpose of being responsive, and how either we're utilizing office hours or small groups, right? How we're identifying who needs what and trying to really prioritize what that instruction and supports can look like in a more individualized way based off of the priorities of their goals. So I just think it's really important to, as much as we are, gauging where students are, and our teachers are really experts at this, but being able to do that within instruction, right? And that's something that has been kind of an ongoing skill and, like a layer of professional development for many, many years in our school district. It's a little different with distance learning, as all things are, but right now it's about how are they responding to what we're doing in order for to use that informal formative data to make instructional decisions. And then just going back to the question around what's expected academically, I think you said it really well, Dr. Rosenquist, and it just goes back to that we want our students to have meaningful learning, right? So the same expectations as far as we're always working towards those grade level standards, prioritizing around their individualized goals, but the idea that it's a meaningful learning experience for them. And it's going to take some time to make it, kind of a flexible approach as far as what is that going to be like for your child, because it's going to be different for every child, which is why they have an individualized education plan, because we need to make sure that we're supporting all of them. So I just wanted to add that as well. So thank you.
Let me just circle back, because I know there's some questions. Sometimes we use acronyms or we use terms that not everybody's familiar with. When I refer to a case manager, I'm referring to your child's special ed teacher. If you're in a special ed class, or if you have support, it's that special ed person. Sometimes if you have if you have speech services, it's a speech teacher. So it's that one main contact person that has all of the parts and is the main person that you can communicate with, that communicates with the rest of the team. If you don't know who your special ed teacher is or your case manager, reach out to your school, call the office, and you can ask them. They have that information. Or if you're on the Zoom call of the class, ask outright, who is my daughter or my son's case manager? Because that's information that's key for all parents to have. So I just wanted to go back to that. So thanks, Robin.
Thank you. Sam, do you have one more question?
I do have a question about nursing. As the pandemic continues, I'm wondering if children who have one-to-one nurses will be able to have their nurses come to the home during the virtual school day.
Lucy, do you want to touch on that?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I know I've had this question asked, and at this time, that is not something that we're able to do with any of our one-to-one staff. I'll tell you, I'll continue to look into it, but unfortunately, not something we can do for your student right now. I don't have a better answer. I'm sorry. It's hard because I know all our one-to-one staff is needed. But
But I will definitely keep you posted if anything changes.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to some Gmail questions. Courtney, can you unmute yourself and ask those questions? These are questions that were emailed to us before the meeting.
Yes, some of them have already kind of been answered, but so I'll read all of them. But
okay, go for it.
I'm going to read them out of order if that's okay. Okay. Question was, do you know of any plans to open a non-public school within Long Beach, Bellflower, Cerritos surrounding areas? When my child goes back to school, it will be a 20-mile drive for him. That's too long for him, but doing online schoolwork is very distant learning for him, and he does not make connections well with this kind of learning. Can you get us the names of state and county leaders that we as parents can contact? They need to hear from us. We feel very stressed out by a state government who doesn't allow a more democratic process to take place during a pandemic such as this. All of my nieces and nephews in 6 other states are allowed to go back to school in some form. Each county and each district should be allowed to make choices that are best for their people.
Patty, do you chime in on this?
You're on mute, Patty.
I apologize. I know you were asking about schools if there were closer locations in the area so that the students wouldn't have to travel so far. And I know some of the schools have looked into maybe getting a closer location, but it just hasn't worked out with them finding the right place to open a contract. So, I mean, that's always something that the schools, I think, continue to look at, is if they can have a place closer. A lot of our schools are in the South Bay area or up in the LA way. And I really wish there were closer schools so the students didn't have such a distance to travel. I don't know if you, Dr. Heenan, know of other schools through your colleagues or places that are trying to look at establishing in the area.
Yeah, not right now. In this, I mean, it seems like all the non-public schools, not all, but a lot of them are closing and have closed over the past few years for a lot of reasons. But I definitely would, really encourage you to email the non-public school division of CDE, California Department of Education. If you go online, or you can even call them and just express, I mean, they are asking for parent input all the time. So I would definitely encourage you, they do hear from us a lot, but I think it's more powerful when a parent reaches out to ask these questions as well.
Courtney, you have another question?
Yeah, I was going to make sure no one else was.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Can we be more flexible with families at this time? My children are expected to be on Zoom for several hours a day, and it's very stressful for them and for me as the parent. We don't want to feel like we're starting out the school year as failures. We need more flexibility. Can they have alternating classes for middle school like they do for high school? This would help limit the total time in Zoom meetings. We are all feeling very stressed in our family with 3 children online and 2 adults trying to also work from home in a small home. Please work to get kids back to school and be back to success. What can we do for students on a 504 plan? We haven't heard of any accommodations from our new middle school for 6th grade.
What is the last part about accommodations for 6th grade? Can you repeat that part?
What can we do for students on a 504 plan? We haven't heard of any accommodations from our new middle school for 6th grade.
Dr. Owens, 504?
Right, well, the 504 that's currently existing with accommodations, those accommodations should be in place. We are asking all 504s to occur annually. I think there may have been some confusion about that because they're not required to occur annually, but we as a district are moving towards an annual 504 meeting. But the 504 that was in place in the 5th grade, those accommodations should still be in play. Of course, we have to consider the distance learning piece of it. And right now, there isn't a requirement for a distance learning plan as part of the 504. It certainly is something that we are communicating to our 504 site case managers to consider this when they're putting the plan together. You know, it's part of any sort of individualization of any learning for any student. So that's, I think I answered your question with respect to the 504. The accommodations that were in place should be in place. The expectation is that the 504 meetings are held annually. Again, this is not a change, but it's something that we're really bringing home this year with some different things that we put in place to help our teams at the school sites monitor that better. There was a first part of that question, though. What was that first part? Before they brought
about the flexibility of the day and having it a really long day. So I think Ashley wanted to chime in on that.
Yeah, so I think Dr. Owens had mentioned that our teachers had the opportunity to engage in a week-long kind of training before school started. And Rochelle had also kind of alluded to what we trained around with this Smart Start. And really it was in response to helping teachers to understand how to plan for that flexible learning. So while, you know, we recognize that we have these set kind of instructional minutes, we do also recognize that we have students who might need additional supports, additional breaks, kind of built into that. So while we might not be there yet, we're constantly working toward increasing that time that students are able to participate. But we're not quite there yet. So I think in terms of thinking about how an IEP team is planning for that flexibility, if it's not working for your student or your child, it's really, really important to have that collaboration with that case carrier, with that child's teacher, to let the teacher know this isn't working. We need help. What else can we do? How else can we think about this a little bit differently? Can we build in breaks? Can we redesign kind of what we're learning in the morning versus in the afternoon? Because we know afternoons we get a lot of saturation in. So it's really important to have that communication to let the teacher know that your child is experiencing these things. And it's important to be able to collaborate as a team to kind of think through what might work best individually. So we do encourage you to collaborate and think those things through. And we're always here to support kind of that conversation as well in terms of always working towards those instructional minutes.
You know, Ashley, I'd like to, after some reflection, tag on to what you've said, because I think it's really, you know, precise. And at 504, just like an IEP, is a living, breathing document. It's not a set it and forget it. This is it for the year. It's not like that at all. So if you feel like your child is needing something else, you should absolutely reach out to the middle school site where your child's going. Ask for the 504 coordinator and say, you know, I'd really like to look at the 504. I don't want to wait until whatever date it is. I think that, you know, with this transition, that we as a team should look at it and come together as the team and say, maybe something can be done different. A group of minds is usually better than a single mind, right? So I encourage you, I don't want you to feel like, oh gosh, that man said we have to wait until April, because that's when the last, no, it's a living, breathing document, just like the IEP. If you feel like something else is needed, please reach out to your 504 coordinator at the middle school. I support them. So if they have a question, they can give me a call, and, you know, I will help guide them in getting that meeting going and what needs to be done. But I didn't want to leave with the message that it's an annual thing. It's a as needed thing, just like the IEP. If we need to get back together, we do.
And Dr. Owens, most of the time, who is the 504 coordinator at the school site?
At most sites, it's the counselor, and even if it's not the counselor, they will get you to the person. So I would reach out to the counselor at the school site, but specify that you're really wanting to speak with the 504 coordinator for the school.
Great.
Thank you. I want to re-ask just the one part of this question, just so I make sure I'm asking everything that this person is asking. The part about middle schools, I don't know if we answered this. So it says, could they do alternating schedules for middle school like they do for high school to help limit the time on Zoom? So I don't know if, I mean, that wouldn't be specific just for this child, for the parent to go in and just ask that question, maybe just as a group question?
Well, I think right now, I have a middle schooler myself, and even though, you know, their schedule might be different when they're in person, he's on every day. So if that schedule is too much for your child, which it might be, that's again where I would go back to holding an IEP meeting and talking about how you can be flexible, still getting the work done, still meeting the standards that they need to meet, but also to, like I said, is have flexibility in the schedule. So as of right now, we're not doing any hybrid model where they come one day and then they're off the next day. That hopefully will get to that point when we're given permission to have in-person instruction. But right now we're completely online. So we're not doing an every other day unless it is something that is in the distance learning plan.
And even with the high school model, I think that's what even mom was making similarities to. So with the high school model, high school may have the class every other day. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not still, you know, on Zoom in instructional time. It's still going to be that same length. It's just that the student doesn't have that same class every day.
And if I could just add to that. And so I think what Ashley had said of really working with the team in terms of taking a tier 1 approach of working with the case carrier, or the teacher, and getting breaks or opportunities to just speak with them and see what can work, what can't work, and then taking it to the next level of actual flexible scheduling with the distance learning plan. And that's something that we'd want to do after you've tried the classroom interventions of maybe the student, we need to look at them not having as many periods at the middle school or the high school level. But that would be noted in the distance learning plan.
If I could just kind of add on to what Dr. Paul was saying, I think it's really important to kind of honor what students are doing right now. What can they do? So what are we doing now, and what is that next kind of step of what we can work toward so that we have something to build on? So when thinking about having those conversations or approaching the IEP team, I think it's really important to kind of recognize, okay, what's going well and how can we increase what's going well? And kind of build on that. If they're more interested during this time, or if there's a certain song that gets played, like maybe we're using that more. So really thinking about how well you know your child, how well you can convey that to the child's teacher, and really working toward thinking about how we're going to enhance their experience based off of the good that we know that they're able to do. Because these kiddos, man, they're working hard. They really are working hard. And we want to be able to honor that and be able to kind of constantly think about, okay, what's next? What's next? What can they do? How can we build on that? How can we make that rigor even more so that we're still holding those high expectations, recognizing where they're at? So I think I saw Rochelle on mute too, if she wants to add
I
on.
did. I think that's so well said, and it's helping me to think about some of the supports we have been providing to our teachers, because Ashley and I work really directly with teachers, and over the last few weeks when they have had minimum days, we have been holding just individual appointments with teachers and teacher teams for about 3 hours a day. And most of the teachers that are coming to us are saying exactly what she's saying, wanting to start with their strengths, saying, how can we make this easier for families? But I think so much of it is just going back to having those conversations and really starting with what are the strengths, what are ways we can, make this more engaging, and teachers are really creative, and they're finding a lot of interesting ways to keep kids engaged, whether it is, adjusting the schedule. And it's going to be different for each kid, but, really knowing that, do I need to start off with having, more frequent breaks for everyone just because we know that they need to move? But I think that it's just been a real pleasure to hear so many teachers trying to, pull out every trick that they have. And I just want to encourage you to have those conversations with your child's teacher, your case manager, about making sure that, we are creating a distance learning plan that really leads with their strengths, but allows them to have meaningful and successful opportunities.
Thank you. Courtney, I think we finished with the Gmail questions, so I'm gonna go back to the Zoom questions. And Samantha, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry, I'm flipping back and forth on my computer. So 1 second here. Okay, we have a question about assessments. How and who will be doing assessments? I know of one parent who was sent a packet of forms and asked to assess her child and send back the forms. I know there is a parent portion to the BASC, but otherwise, how is a parent qualified to assess? And I want to add on to that one with the question from Amy about how you're handling triennial assessments.
Ima?
Yeah, so at this time, we are not doing any in-person assessments with our psychologists. However, as a group, as a whole, they've really had to look at their assessments and really pivot, because in terms of looking at online options, most of the assessments are not really found to be valid or reliable. So what the group has really done is looked at record reviews as their triennials, and really trying to make them as comprehensive as possible. And really, because we need, and the students are at home, really looking at teacher and parent input, observations, all of that is really important in terms of putting that information into the report. We are moving forward with holding triennials, and with those record reviews, really ensuring that we're covering a comprehensive approach to the child. That at that point, it doesn't mean that when we do have in-person assessments, as we are beginning that process of determining how we can have that happen, that at that point you can request that an in-person assessment or a standardized assessment is provided. But at no point should you as a parent be provided the assessment to be done at home. Typically what the parent does receive, there is a parent portion of the BASC, but there's self-report measures that you would be providing for the assessment.
I think what we need to remember is that standardized testing is just one portion of an assessment. So a lot of people think that that is the only or the most critical thing. Yes, it's definitely important. And somebody asked about an initial assessment. Without a standardized measure, absolutely making an initial determination for eligibility is extremely difficult and probably not advised. However, for the majority of our students, the in-person testing is a portion. So we're looking at teacher reports, surveys, observations, which now cannot be in classroom. They have to be on Zoom. We do rating scales, we do parent input, and there's parent input, and there's so many other portions of the assessment that most of them can be done. However, we're looking at data. If you're looking at teacher report and work samples, a lot of them probably are old if we're looking at work samples that were in person. So right now we're trying to get work samples from what happened in the spring, what's happening now, and those aren't ideal. We totally understand that that is not an ideal in-person or assessment situation. But what you also need to understand is we are still required by law to hold these assessments and these IEPs on time. So IDEA, the law that requires special education services and assessments and encompasses what we do, still lives and breathes, and there is no stop to those requirements. So what our psychologists are kind of really faced with is trying to do the best they can with assessments that do not include the in-person standardized measures. So they're still required to have these tests with those components in a timely manner, but they don't include the whole portion of the test that we would like. So they are trying to do most of the assessment that they can do. And like Dr. Paul said, when we return in person, they can come back and do more updated information, more in-person standardized testing, etc. But please know that we do have pretty much a 3-phase plan in place to get some pilot testing going, to try to make sure that those few assessments that we do, they are safe and that everybody stays healthy. This is a very serious situation we're in. And unfortunately, from last week to this week, we've increased 4% of COVID positive tests, which is the wrong way. We need to be going the other way. So every time we're, thinking, okay, we're ready to pilot, we can start assessing. We have all the PPE, we have assessors ready to go. Our COVID numbers keep climbing and climbing and climbing. And it's not, to be honest, it's not looking good. And we can't expose families and we can't expose staff to potential virus that might be dormant in families. And so that's another reason why we're also not providing, I think there was a question about the nursing, one-on-one nursing. Until we have our numbers starting to decrease, we cannot put anybody's families at risk. We have several people in the district, unfortunately, who've lost family members. We've had spouses, and it is a very scary situation for those who have been personally impacted by the virus. And we can't take the risk ourselves as district members, but also our guidance from, Long Beach Public Health as well as LA County. Although there is guidance and it looks hopeful, we have to really look carefully at what our numbers are looking like in the district, in Long Beach itself. And then truly, we need to provide these services and we want to, but we have to also, does the risk of someone's life outweigh the educational support of a child? So we have a plan in place. Dr. Simon and I have been working hard to be able to get these going. But right now we're totally on a holding pattern.
Okay. Thank you so much. I wanted to let Ketty Cuba, I see you've got your hand raised. Ketty, would you like to ask your question on camera? Or not camera. Sorry,
Hi,
go ahead,
hello.
Ketty.
Sorry.
Hi, Ketty.
Yeah. Hi. Good evening to everybody. Well, I think I hear a lot of things, but as I said, as a parent of a student with SDC, I'm concerned also about the hours in front of the screen. But also, I'm seeing a lot of, in my student right now, he's getting bored easily with too many things that he already saw last year. And as you remember, the STC classes are always 2 grades. My case in my student case, the second and third. He's in third grade. And now they are seeing second grade things. And he's getting bored easily. So in general, I know you're always talking about the IEP for everyone, and I have to talk with my case manager, and I will talk to him too. Sorry, I got my kiddo here. Thank you, Bob. My question is, are you going to have any plan in general for the STC classes in this situation to separate them? As an example, 3 hours for second graders and 3 hours for third graders, separate them, and not in that case also solve the problem of the screen time. I mean, that's what I will suggest to you guys, because as I see my student trying to get engaged, he can be okay in the first 2 hours, but starting the third hour, he's getting bored and bored because he's doing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. He's not doing nothing new, and it's really strange to see him like trying to run away from the screen and I have to redirect him and prompt him and everything. But as I tell you guys, I understand all the things you said, that you have to be safe and everything, but for us as parents, it's very tough right now to control them. I mean, if you can answer me that question, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, one of the things, and you may have heard earlier where there was reference to the distance learning plan, that is one piece that would be able to work with the IEP team to develop a tailor-made support to the students' time on the screen and just giving them mindfulness and movement in their schedule. Also, talking with the case carrier to see what kinds of things, what kinds of curriculum the student has covered, and ensuring that together they can work out a plan for your student. We want to be back in school just as much as all of you, and it's just hard to be able to answer a question when we really don't have the answer for you about being back in school. We really do have to wait for the guidance and the support from our Long Beach Health Department and the guidance from CDE. And then I missed part of because the question was a little bit long, so if somebody can jump in and help me with some other parts of the question.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and jump in. This is Dennis Swenningson, and I'm the Behavior Intervention Manager for the district. A couple of things that I've heard from families is the struggles that they're having with their student, whether that's attending to the screen, keeping them at the table for any period of time, and a certain period of time. And it sounds like in this particular case, after 2 hours, there's a lot of struggle keeping the child focused and attending to the task on the computer. I see this as a really great opportunity for our teachers to really connect with our families, to really provide more parent training, to share with you, to teach you the necessary skills and strategies and ideas to really work on these behaviors that I think are happening while you're at home with your students. Data and research is very clear that the closer that we are working together with teaching our kids are going to make more progress. So we have to make sure that we are on the same page, and to allow us to be able to support you through almost a parent training type of model, for us to really walk you through and teach you all of the different strategies that we would use if we were in person with your kids, to teach you those skills, because that is the power, I think, out of this situation, where we can end up in a better place on the other end of this. And so I would encourage you to reach out to your teachers and ask them for help, ask them for these ideas and suggestions and strategies to help you in your home support your child. I think that's really, again, a great opportunity that we have to work in collaboration with all of you.
And can I just add on to, I know there was a question around just COVID and, keeping families safe. And I know there was a comment about, 4% increase is still significantly low. And it may be significantly low compared to other counties, but it's still high. And the concern is that COVID rates are still rising. There's also concern, just for parents to know, our public health officials anticipate, based on the Labor Day weekend and also with universities and colleges opening, that there's also going to be an increased rate of COVID positive tests. So just for example, although I know these schools are not within our county, we had, I believe, Chico State and I believe San Diego State, who attempted to open up recently. As a matter of fact, they did open their campuses, and they ended up having to close their campuses within a matter of weeks, just based on the positive COVID test. So something that our health department is very concerned with, also knowing that Cal State Long Beach, I think, is opening at this time. There are students staying in the dorms. There are concerns. And so for us, monitoring those numbers and working with our public health officials is key in order to keep our staff safe, in order to keep parents safe, in order to keep students safe, in order to keep the community safe as well. So it's not something that we're taking lightly. And we realize that, there are some things that are not happening right now, right? Just based on, students being at home with distance learning. But just know that we are looking at every avenue and every way to help our families. Dennis mentioned about parent trainings and other supports for our parents while they are at home with our families as well. And that's some of the out-of-box thinking that we're trying to just come up with, and trainings we're trying to implement just very quickly as well. So we welcome parents to discuss and comment about some things, and even some needs based on the home environment, based on our kids being in distance learning, and maybe behaviors or just some ways to work on coping. We are working on SEL for adults as well, and also SEL for parents, because we realize that it is a lot, right? And they need something just to fill their cups up. That is something that we are well aware of. So I wanted to really discuss the COVID and the increases, although people may believe that it's smaller based on other counties. The concern is that it's still rising. And that's a huge concern for our public health officials.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we don't have more time for more questions right now. We're actually a little bit over. So I wanted to remind everybody, I know we still have some questions in the chat, but I want everybody to take their question or what they want to say and send it to their special ed administrator. I'm going to throw all the SEAs out there. And if you don't know who your special ed administrator, well, take it to your teacher and your case carrier first. But if you have a question that you need more of answers to, your special administrators are there for you. And if you don't know who your special ed administrator is, Dr. Heenan will explain how you can find that out.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Robin. So if you go onto the district website and then go under special education, S for special education, on the front page, there is a beautiful chart made by Maravik, who is watching on YouTube, and it alphabetically lists the schools. It's a lot easier, I think, to see visually. So it lists schools alphabetically, and basically it says what programs are on that site. So if the school might have ED or MM or MS or Success, and then if you go over a column, it will show you who the special ed support is for that school site. Please know that we're definitely encouraging that principal support is first and foremost, and our job is really to support the school sites to make sure they have the knowledge to answer your questions. We are always here for you for sure, but our really push this year is to work with our principals and our counselors and even our special ed teachers during a lot of professional development this year to support the school sites to have the answers for sure. But that list is on our website, And if there's any questions, please reach out to your special ed administrator. And I know there's been a few questions in here. So we will definitely contact you directly. Hopefully your name is who to contact. And we have, because I know there's some very specific individual student questions, and we want to help. So we're going to go ahead and do our best to search up the names that asked for lots of questions, and we'll reach out to you and get these questions answered and direct you to the right people. So thank you, everybody. We so appreciate the time. It's good to see you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So we're moving on to our announcements. Right now, this is COVID, this is pandemic time. We have to take attendance on Zoom. So what I would like for you to do is, if you are on the Zoom call, if you could please just type your name in the chat and hit enter, and we're going to save the chat, and that's how we're going to take attendance. So if you guys would all do that, that would be awesome. And then my next announcement is I would like to propose a COVID-19 bylaws amendment. During the pandemic, we've had to do things a little bit differently, and I'm proposing that we make some amendments to our bylaws to accommodate COVID-19 safety precautions. Currently, our bylaws state that when voting members have 3 or more unexcused absences, that they forfeit their membership. I would like to add the following language to our bylaws. I'm just going to read it. I'm sorry. So I would like to add the following language to Article 3, Section 3.9. Forfeiture of membership due to absence will be suspended during Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order regarding COVID-19, directing Californians to cancel large public gatherings and to enforce social distancing in order to help stop the spread of COVID-19. The suspension of this rule expires when the executive order expires. I would also like to add the following, and this is really just out of an abundance of caution, because we are supposed to have an election later this school year. And if we are still not meeting in person, our bylaws currently say that we have to do it in person. I would like to amend the bylaws and add the following language. Voting for officers shall be conducted electronically via email form if Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order regarding COVID-19 is still in place. Voting members will have 2 weeks to respond to an emailed form. After the 2-week voting period, votes will be counted and presented at the May CAC meeting. All votes will be public record for all members to review. So I have this typed out, and I'm going to email this to every CAC voting member, and we are going to do a digital ballot or voting form for you guys to vote and hopefully approve that, because I don't think it's fair to take attendance on Zoom. I mean, I hope that we can be back in person soon, because this is hard, guys. This is really hard. And the other announcement I want to make is, where are we on time? Okay. At 8 o'clock, we turn into pumpkins. Next week, our CAC meeting is a budget parent engagement workshop. So we want, the district is seeking our input and feedback about ways to make school better for our kids. They've been holding these workshops at all the district parent groups and other stakeholder groups, and they come to us next month, and I want us all to be prepared. I want you to spend the next few weeks thinking about the 3 questions they're going to ask. I want you all to show up prepared and engaged and ready to engage. I'll be sending out as much information as I can about the budget engagement process, and I'll be sharing the 3 guiding questions they will be asking. The presentation they give, they have 3 guiding questions. They're very simple. The questions are: what practices would be most effective addressing academic support? What practices would be most effective addressing social emotional learning? And what practices would be most effective addressing student engagement and motivation? I'm gonna send these to you guys. I'm gonna a whole workup. I want you guys to start thinking about it. A lot of the questions, a lot of the, the comments today deal with these guiding questions. So the reason that, we're trying to get as much engagement in our meetings, in our virtual meetings. That's why we're inviting everybody to be on Zoom. That's why we're trying to take questions on Gmail and the chat. And I love that the district staff has been responding to people in the chat, because it makes it feel more alive and more, like, makes me feel more connected. So it's not been perfect. Tonight has several bumps and hiccups, but we're working on it. We're trying to do better. And I really, really want to thank you all for showing up. How many do we have? We have like 50 people on our Zoom call, and more watching YouTube and more watching YouTube later. But I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you joining us. And the last thing I want to say is, we are going to be sending out a CAC survey where I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about how you think we can make our meetings better. But the meetings coming up, like what kind of information, what information do you need? Not just from us, from the district. And yeah, I mean, and hopefully, I know we have COVID rules and we have a lot of things, but I imagine a time where we can somehow get back together in person, far apart, doing something outside. I think it's not that far away. Yeah, so those are all the announcements. We end our meeting with public comment, but we like to call it good news and shout outs. And Viola May Bledsoe is there. I would love to hear her public comment. So if you have a public comment, please raise your hand in the participants, and I would love to let you speak. Go ahead, Viola May. Please unmute yourself.
Well, actually, I put my hand up when you were talking about the amendments to the bylaws. I wanted to know if you needed to have a second tonight on those, or are you going to wait for a second after you pass them out?
Oh, I'll take a second. I would love to take a second.
I would like to second your amendment to the Constitution.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Just trying to keep it in there with the right rules.
I know, I'm the worst. I am the worst. Robert's rules. Thank you so much. Does anybody have a comment they want to see? Nubia has a public comment and it's in Spanish, so I would like, would you like it? Do you want me to read it? She posted it in the chat, so I'm going to read the English version. She says, yes, I'd like to give a shout out to all the fellow mothers who are working very hard to keep their families healthy, fed, and sitting right next to your student learning lessons so that you can help your students. As mothers, it's not easy to ask for help. And if you reached out to someone for help, bravo, strength. Yeah.
I'd like to read in Spanish if I can.
Thank you, please, thank you.
Este es mi comentario público. Me gustaría agradecer a todas mis compañeras madres que están trabajando fuerte para mantener a sus familias saludables, alimentadas y sentadas al lado de sus estudiantes, aprendiendo lecciones para que puedan ayudar a sus estudiantes. Como madres no es fácil pedir ayuda. Y si se acercaron a alguien para buscar ayuda, usaron su voz, les digo bravo, fuerza y adelante.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. I would love to have one of the Nubians, Julie, Ricky, anybody share a comment. I will say it's been this is day 6 of distance learning, and it has been really, really challenging. And, you know, talking about COVID, I find myself like going down the rabbit hole feeling overwhelmed because it does feel like it's over sometimes. You know, people are going out to the beach or whatever, and I feel like torn because it feels like it's over, but it's not. And I don't know, you know, and my sympathy is with everybody like me who lives in a small apartment or a small house with no air conditioning. This is a really, really tough time. And I gotta say, coming here and having this, you know, kind of a little slightly bumpy Zoom session with you all has really, really helped. And so I appreciate you all so much. Anybody else? Anybody else? Please.
Robin, if I may, I just want to, and for people on the Zoom call, please give Robin and her team, the CAC Exec Board, a round of applause. You just wave your hands or whatever you like to do. Just because I know that changing the format to have a virtual meeting is very, very difficult. And we tried to have both platforms in order for people to stream or people to Zoom as well. So I want to just give a shout out to Robin and the CAC board for their flexibility and working with alongside the district to put this together. But it's their brilliance that brought this to life. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Magda, did you raise your hand again?
Yes, I did.
Please, please.
I just wanted to say that maybe, I mean, I'm on a different type of environment where we also sometimes feel like we don't have the answers and maybe we don't have these meetings where we can kind of help. But between March and July, I really miss having the meetings. And even if you as an organization don't feel like you can have the meetings because you don't have enough answers for parents, at least as a listening session on hearing from us and keeping the connectedness that is really, really needed for parents like us that we are very, very lost sometimes in what we are doing with our kids, even if it's completely not district related or is something just to get feedback from us, from parents. How are we feeling? How are we doing? And learn from each other. Keep the meetings going, even if it's if you don't have an agenda of things that are presentable or to help, like at least listening lessons.
Thank you, Magda. Magda, you're going to be the next CAC chair. We're recruiting. That's awesome. Thank you. I think that's everybody. I think this has never happened in the history of CAC. Usually we get kicked out by the janitor, but I feel like we're going to end 8 minutes early. So again, I've got you all on grid view right now. I thank you so much. We got a lot of questions in, you know, the questions will never end. That's why you guys get paid the big bucks. Thank you to Jen, Courtney, Sam. This has been great. I've had a lot of lights, you know, I wanted to look less stressed for you guys, but I'm dying under here. So thank you so much. Thank you for the interpreters. Thank you. Amazing, everybody. I am going, well, I can't even end the meeting because I'm not the host. Chris, it's on us to end the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.